let's look at some of the pros and cons of a Roth 401k versus a traditional 401k. So Roth, let's start with the traditional. That's the easy one. Traditional 401k historically is you put money into this account, you get a deduction for that money this year, okay, for whatever you put into that account. It grows tax deferred, and when you pull it out, you pay taxes on the money.
Yep.
Okay.
And what Paul means when he says, for the layman, when it grows tax deferred, it means you're not having to pay taxes each year until you get to retirement and you pull the money out.
Right. And understand how Congress defines retirement for the purpose of that account, okay, is 59 and a half.
Yeah.
Not that you have to retire 59 and a half, but you cannot pull money out of that account before you're 59 and a half, or you get all kinds of penalties on it.
And why they came up 59 and a half, who knows?
Actually, there is a reason behind that, but we won't go into that in this video. Okay, now, that's a traditional 401k, what most people have become accustomed to. Okay, now a Roth 401k is a little bit different in that you can still put the same amounts of money in there, okay, as you can into a traditional 401k, but you won't get the tax deduction today for it. Okay, so if you put $20,000 in, you're paying tax on the $20,000 outside of this when you file your tax return.
Right.
Okay, so no tax deduction today. But you still have the benefit of the tax deferred growth. Okay, so it grows and you don't pay taxes as you go along. But here's what another big difference is: when you pull the money out, no taxes. Okay, so remember the traditional, you pay taxes when you pull it out. In the Roth, no taxes when you pull it out. So it's really considered tax-free growth from that regard. Okay, so that's a big difference into how the funds are treated. Now, another difference is something that's become more popular. I say popular, but more conversational these days, which is RMDs, required minimum distributions. In traditional IRAs, 401ks, you have what's called a required minimum distribution as laid by the law, okay, as determined by the law. At a certain age, you have to start taking monies out, okay? The law is moving up, and as of the recording of this video, it will eventually hit 75, okay, the age rather. But some people say it doesn't matter because you're going to start using it before that. For some people who are trying to defer that as much as possible or even give it away as to the beneficiaries, well, that becomes an issue because we have other videos how we show that that's a taxable situation. So they're forced immediate, and that's why it was done, is to kind of force revenue because Congress and government makes money by taxation, right?
And we have a chart at the end of this presentation where we'll kind of show the ramifications for that.
Correct. Another benefit of doing a Roth 401k is the fact that, let's say you leave a job, right? And you roll over your Roth 401k into a Roth IRA, okay? Because you already pay taxes on the contributions, you don't have the same limitation that you do with a traditional 401k, traditional IRA, of taking the money out before 59 and a half. So anything that you contribute, not the growth, but anything that you contribute to a Roth 401k, Roth IRA, you can take out anytime.
That's right. And we're not necessarily recommending that you take that out because you want that money to be able to grow tax-free, but in case you did need it, you could pull that money out.
That's exactly right. And then a final benefit or difference in a Roth 401k is if, let's say, there's these phase-out rules on an individual basis, whether you can contribute to a Roth IRA, not a Roth 401k, a Roth IRA. This traditional IRA, I can contribute to a 401k and a Roth IRA unless I'm phased out for income purposes. I make too much money, okay? So if you are phased out, the Roth 401k has no phase-out limits.
That's right.
As far as income earned. So you can still get the Roth benefit feature now and later, regardless of how much money you make in any given year.
Let's look at an example here of someone who's who's age 40, contributing to their Roth 401k over time, compared to if the same person contributing the same amount was contributing to a traditional 401k. So on this slide, you'll see two blue lines. The blue line, the darker blue line, represents both the Roth after-tax value, its actual value, and the traditional's pre-tax value, meaning the balance you're seeing that you're putting in there, those are going to be the same until the point in time in your retirement when you pull that money out. But just to kind of give you an idea of the power of the Roth is that money is tax-free. So when you pull that money out, let's say you're 65 and it's now worth $1 million. When you pull that money out, it's worth $1 million. But in a traditional 401k, when you go to pull that money out, and we're using a hypothetical example of a 25% tax bracket here, but that money is now worth $750,000. Okay, so just to give you kind of an idea of the power of that. So I like to call this a forced savings plan, meaning you're paying your taxes along the way. Yeah, you don't get the tax benefit the year that you put the contribution in, but at the same time, you're now setting yourself up better in the future. And if you think about it, a lot of people that they do the tax savings they do get from putting money into a traditional 401k, they usually don't invest that money. Most people usually go on more vacations, they go to more restaurants. So this is kind of forcing you, it's kind of a forced discipline way to make sure you have more at retirement. So you see on this next slide, the difference between, the value of 1 million versus 750,000. It's a big difference. And this could be a way that can really help you in your retirement.
So a consideration, Jason, when you know those features, is the application of when does one make sense for another. There's a few considerations, and one of them is actually the tax bracket that you're in now versus the tax bracket that you will be in later. And this is hard because who knows, right? We don't control our tax bracket or our tax rate. That's Congress. But let's say that you have a clear idea or somewhat of a strong notion that you're going to be in a higher tax bracket today than when you retire. So today you're hypothetically in a 35% tax bracket, and because you're going to have a lesser standard of living, you're not going to be earning as much, you think you'll be in something like the 15% tax bracket. In that scenario, it favors you to do a traditional 401k, okay, because you want to take the deduction when your taxes are high, okay, and pay the taxes when the taxes are low, right? So high taxes bracket now, low tax bracket later, probably going to tell you you're probably better off doing a traditional 401k. On the other hand, there's other considerations that lean towards the Roth. Okay, so for example, if your RMDs, which we talked about, the difference between a 401k versus a traditional versus Roth, if the RMD from a traditional is going to put you into a higher marginal tax bracket because you have other sources of income, etc., okay, you could potentially have a Roth to lower that, okay, not having that higher tax bracket triggered. So a consideration is, what is my retirement picture going to look like? And if I have all these other streams that could potentially create income tax already,
that's right,
you might want to consider a Roth so that you don't have another one that's going to potentially trigger a higher tax bracket.
Right. So let me reinforce kind of what the example you were given, where the potential of having a very high RMD throws you into the next marginal tax bracket. So let's say, for example, if you only contributed to a traditional 401k, and let's take this couple, for example, Bill and Karen. They only contributed to a traditional 401k over time. And by the time they were 65, each of them had $1 million. And just to make this easy, let's say they're both same age. So now you have $2 million at age 65 in 401ks. And then let's say, for example, Bill has a pension of $50,000, and both of them together have Social Security of $80,000, $40,000 each. All right, and then over time, Social Security grows a little bit, at least it has historically, and then the pension does not have a cost of living. So you have both of those over time as they start to grow. You still have your 401k growing. Okay, so in the compounding of money, when you grow that over time, it gets bigger and bigger. And so by the time when you have to start taking RMDs, in this example, age 73, when you have to take the RMDs, you can see that the 401k is now a significant portion, and that RMD creates a large taxable income. And so it popped them from a 25% tax bracket all the way to a 33% tax bracket. In this example, we're assuming the sunset rule went into a place and tax brackets went to the way that they are used to. So they're having to pay 8% more from a marginal perspective in taxes, whereas if they would have been contributing to a Roth this whole time, that scenario wouldn't have happened. They could have kept their income taxes significantly lower and not have to pay as much in the retirement years. And that becomes a large portion of income tax that they're going to have to pay each year as it continues to grow.
That's exactly right. And then a final consideration is, if you plan to retire early, and again, by early, defined as 59 and a half for this example, with these products, okay, these tools, it's before 59 and a half, then you can pull money from a Roth, okay, before your penalty stage of 59 and a half.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So that's one thing. And then it can also keep you, again, talking about lower tax brackets, as of the recording of this video, you may qualify for some type of, Affordable Care Act subsidy because your income is below a certain threshold. Okay,
That's right.
These are all various considerations. We always suggest that you speak to a tax advisor because tax laws change, tax brackets change, and the rule on distributions change. But this is hopefully helpful in saying, here's some considerations because I have a Roth 401k and a traditional 401k available to me. Here's some things I should take into account. So we hope this helps, and we hope to see you soon.